Well, I am so deeply grateful. We just spent the first 15 minutes or so just connecting as community. If you are catching this by recording, know that you are practicing with, at this moment, about 130 people from around the world. And it just feels incredible, as always, to be able to connect from my sacred space in my home and to do what is really my personal practice. I've been doing this practice right here on this mat in this space throughout the week in preparation for bringing it to you. And so it feels like a very intimate gathering, even though it's through a digital connecting capacity. I have titled today's class Soft Landing. Soft Landing. And for me, it's kind of again, a bit of a personal reference because I've been traveling really for the better part of, when I put it in context, the last 4 months between South Africa and then back briefly and to a conference in Arizona and back briefly and then throughout Europe and a family trip and so forth. So with all of that, when I returned back to Colorado, my husband and I immediately went up into the mountains and took another 4 days, despite the fact that we'd been out of town for so long, to really take a soft landing in the mountains of Colorado in the complete solace of the wilderness, where you can sleep only to the sounds of the birds as you're falling asleep and waking up again in the morning, to the sound of the rushing water, to the wind moving through the trees. And I told my husband before we went on that backpacking trip that I wanted it to be easy because traveling can be hard, and I didn't want this to be a really intense trip with a lot of miles on our feet, but just this really easy experience. And so we spent a lot of time laying on rocks, like long flat rocks, or laying in fields of wildflowers, and just taking it in and letting myself absorb. And it's been a good learning for me about the power of slowing down, especially as someone who tends to be pretty busy and does a lot. And the counterpoint to doing is being. And so that's this balance that I think our yoga mat affords us as well, is to explore the relationship between the doing part of the practice and the being and the receiving and the being nourished by the practice. This practice today has some playful elements and some balance elements, especially with this theme of soft landing. We'll actually take flight first, and we'll play with the balancing and the flying and the landing again, and to explore how to make those transitions as smooth as possible. And the nice thing about practicing on this on the mat is that if we do end up with a little bit of a crash landing, the floor is not too far away. And so we can experiment with those moments of awkwardness. As I was practicing this, I had a few crash landings myself this week, and I was like, it's actually really good to practice those too. So, one of the things that I'll say also about the journey of kind of giving myself permission to unabashedly share my joy with the world, which is what I feel like this trip was about, these few trips, and letting myself spread my wings and letting myself take flight. It's this profound combination of humility and the willingness to take up space. Right? That like if humility takes over, then I can feel the way in which I want to make myself small. And if taking up space is all that I'm focused on, I might lose touch with my humanity or with the human connections with others. And thankfully, sometimes we get reminded in those moments to come back home, to come back to earth. My biggest hope is that the courage that it takes to allow myself to shine bright is not taken as a diminishment of anyone else. that it's really an invitation for us all to take flight in our own unique ways. This world needs your love and your courage and your gifts. So please take this as an invitation for us all. As I mentioned today, we're going to play with some gentle invitations to take flight. You can always use the back of a chair or a wall if balance is challenging in any way. And as with all of my classes, this is a commitment to listen to yourself and to your body and your unique needs and what is right for you. I will, especially since we have some new people here today, I will share the key principles of practice, and this is a reminder for any of you who are returning as well. You are your own best teacher. Please listen to the cues from your body, your mind, your breath about the state of your nervous system. And if you start to feel like you're speeding up too much, slow down. If you're starting to feel a little too heavy, use your breath to uplift so that you can be in the driver's seat of your nervous system along the way. Honor your pace, let your breath be your guide. Each posture is simply a home base for your own exploration. So don't feel like there's any need to perfect a shape from the outside in. It's to discover a shape from the inside out. There is no goal to achieve. Follow your instincts. Make this a unique expression of you. Have fun. Maybe contact that inner joy. Rest as you need to, and let this nourish you. So those principles are also on the website where you sign up for the class, and they really form the basis of all of this. So with all of those words, I'm going to shift gears into the practice itself with, of course, a poem and a bit of an intention setting that the soft landing that is invited for you here also accompanies the invitation to take flight and to know that you are here for a reason, that your gifts are needed by this world, and that this journey of embodiment is what helps us discover and find those gifts, trust ourselves, and to know that from that rooted place, that deep connection within, that we can bring what is most needed out to this world. The poem for today is inspired by a book that I received recently by Deborah Ann Quibble, and it's called Soul Bird, and it's called Poems for Flying. And I've chosen one of these poems, although many of them touched me and it was a bit of a hard choice. But the poem that I've chosen for today is called Scarlet-Chested Sunbird. Magnificent being, come out from behind yourself. The old, tired stories that strangle and keep you small must be retold into mythic tales of stalks and scarlet-chested sunbirds. As you emerge from beneath the parched, holy ground, be warned. Who you were before will not recognize the stranger you are becoming. Who you were before will not recognize the stranger you are becoming. You will no longer yearn to fly so close to the sun, but will inhabit, perhaps for the first time, your marvelous earthly body of belonging. You will no longer yearn to fly so close to the sun, but will inhabit, perhaps for the first time, your marvelous earthly body of belonging. May we do that together. If you are not on your yoga mat, I will invite you to make that sacred transition. I mentioned as we were getting started today that I'm going to bring a chair with me today to just show a few of the beginning practices and maybe some middle practices with an option from a chair. Alrighty. So this, I'm going to start on my mat, but this can quite obviously be started out sitting anywhere, in your bed, on your couch, tucked up under a cozy blanket, right? We're going to start with a little bit of havening and vagal toning, and I'll start with a little bit of a vigorous rub of the hands today, not quite the havening self-touch, but just a warming up of the hands. Maybe not so needed today in Colorado where it's nearly 100 degrees, but just a warming up of the energy body. And then slowing it down. Slowing that down. Maybe you feel a little bit of the tingle on your hands, fingertips. And then you take a little bit of a sweeping touch across your forehead, across your cheeks, maybe even gently caressing your neck, maybe across the top of your scalp, your hairline, just gently caressing yourself in this invitation to embody, to find that soft landing within yourself. When you greet your ears, I'll come a little closer for this. When you greet your ears, you can roll out through your earlobes. You can give them a little tug or stick your hands down. Ah, thank you. That's why I came closer. Yeah, the mic got dropped. All right, well, I'm just going to talk louder. Can you hear me? Yes, to hearing me, thank you. That's such a bummer. I've been working so hard with this mic to work. I might try one thing, but I don't think if it's not working now, it's not going to. All right, but so long as you can hear me, I'm just gonna talk louder and not worry about the microphone. All right, yes to hearing me, one more thumbs up, okay. So, well, I'll stay closer with the ears. Speaking of ears, give your ears a little bit of love. And this area in front of, thank you, this area in front of your ears called the tragus, giving that a little bit of a squeeze, nice little vagal toning moment here. Making up that connection of the upper vagus, our social engagement system. And then coming into some havening, shoulders down to elbows. Alrighty. Lovely. And then from here, I'm going to come back here, but like I said, I'll talk a little bit louder. I'm going to invite us to come into some spinal movements. And as I mentioned, this can be done seated on your mat, seated in a chair, and very, very basic here, just allowing yourself to find some movements, extension and flexion of your spine. Inhaling to lengthen and exhale, finding that contraction. And then staying with that movement, but bringing your hands to shoulders and allowing yourself to find what we call robin's breath, our first embodied bird. Robin's breath. Allowing your elbows to open, your chest to expand. Maybe you lift your chin. And on the exhale, drawing it all inward. And then from here, spreading your wings, allowing yourself to expand, and then perhaps touch palms in front of your body. Press, press, press. Inhale to open. Exhale, give it a squeeze. And this next round, inhale, we expand, exhale, perhaps a self-hug. So one arm under the other, opening it up and hug the other arm on top. Moving with your breath. Next variation, just an option. When you bring the arm underneath, we'll find eagle arms. We cross at the forearms, maybe palms touch, and then pause there. And once you find this shape, letting your elbows lift and lower. And lift, inhale, and lower. And expand your wings. And exhale, opposite arm beneath, eagle arms or self-hug. And then lift and lower. Lift and lower. And then again, beautiful expansion. And exhale to let it go. From here, I'll invite just a little bit of a rotation through your shoulders, one way and the other, around your elbows, your wrists, and put it all together. Just wiggle it out, all the joints of your arms. Beautiful. And then from here, we'll come into the joints of the legs. And again, just as easy seated as on the mat. We start lifting the right foot, and right foot just circles around the ankle in one direction and the other. One direction of your shin, nice circular movement, and the other way. And then nice big wide hip circles. And again, if you're seated on the mat, you can give your leg a little hold. If you're in your chair with one foot down, again, same, or you can just hold your knee and take those nice big wide hip circles. So here's where it gets a little different. We're going to go into deer on the mat. If you're in the chair, you're going to just kind of let yourself turn at an angle and then move your spine. If you're on the mat, deer pose takes right knee to the inside of left foot. And then from here, begin to turn your spine and feel it out, whether you're on the mat or on the chair. Just find that range of motion, whether you're twisting to the left or back around to the right. Feeling your rhythm with your breath, this home base of a shape. Good. And then from here, invitation is to take your right leg up and over. Now, if you're in the chair, you're simply crossing your legs and begin to take a twist to the right. And it's a gentle twist, it's a non-forced twist, so that as you're twisting here, you're allowing yourself to actually let the arms be free so that the twist comes from the spine and the core rather than the arms kind of cranking you into a shape. Now, I will invite a locating of your arms, right hand down as a second spine through your right arm, left hand to the outside of your right leg, and then begin by allowing your chin to turn towards the right, feeling that whole twist of the spine towards the right side, and then just your head, your chin turning to the left. You feel a little bit of a double helix in the spine. And then unwinding here, invitation is to take your right leg out long. And then just finding a little bit of movement here, greeting the back of your right leg, my chair friends. Here we are, right? So allowing yourself to feel your way in, whatever that means for you, right? So you're kind of just getting to know hamstring, inner thigh. You can turn toward the leg. You can allow your side body to lean and stretch. So there's no right or wrong, and it's early in practice. So we're not trying to make something happen. We are embodying the experience. It's very different. Beautiful. And this one, not quite as manageable in the chair, but I'm going to show on the floor, left hand behind, lift your hips, and just find a little arc here, a little opening of your heart. And if you're in the chair, find a variation that lets you just lift through your heart. And then we'll take this back down, we'll repeat, just take it into some fold over your leg. And then up and around, open, lift if you like, lifting your hips, lift your heart. And then settling back down, and we'll take all of that on side two. Again, knowing your variation. So allowing yourself to find some rotations around your left ankle in each direction. Shin, hip, we're getting into the joints of the body, the hyaline cartilage, which is a form of connective tissue, awakening the synovial fluid and allowing communications to happen throughout your whole body. It kind of opens up places where we can get a little stuck or stagnant. Let's go ahead and find that deer pose and some movements here, in and out of your shape. You can always let a sound go, a sigh, a ha, right? Letting your voice go, kind of matching a feeling in the body with your voice. We're going to take left leg up and around and over. And now we find that open twist, twist supported by the spine, by your core, twisting toward the left. Beautiful. And then using your hands here more for stabilizing rather than facilitating a deeper twist, allowing yourself to twist to the left, including your chin, your eyes, your gaze. And then just your head turning towards the right. Unwinding from here, this time left leg nice and long, and finding some movements of your upper body, letting it feel good. That invitation to arrive onto yourself, into yourself, just as you are. Turning toward your left leg, or maybe side body reach. And then if you like, taking your right hand down, lifting your hips, and exhale, up and around, and a few more of those. Good. I don't know how many we did on the other side, but this side apparently wants 3, so go ahead and find whatever feels right for you. Lovely. And then from here, the invitation is to come into deer side to side. So the next sequence is going to ultimately take us onto our backs. And if you're practicing in a chair and want to come to the floor, that might feel like a supportive option. We're also going to do some core support and strengthening here. And before we make our way to our backs, I'll invite you to take your feet about hips width apart. And from here, maybe with hands behind, allowing your knees to rock side to side. So we're coming in and out of that deer shape that we were in, one side to another. And as you find this movement, you might explore reach through the opposite arm. And you might even, and some of you know what's coming, you might even do the look ma, no hands variation. And yes, my mother's here with us, so how fun. We can explore a little bit of this side to side movement. And now you're bringing in that core strength right along with you. When you feel even side to side, that's when I'll invite you to come on down to your back. The first shape that we'll take down on our backs is going to be a supine eagle with your legs. So in this shape, I'll invite you to take right thigh over the left and hands behind your head. On an inhale, letting yourself settle into the earth. On an exhale, lifting up elbows towards knees. And then moving with your breath. You can even squeeze leg to leg here, feeling that connection of the inner leg line, a source of strength. Next movement, invitation, is to lay down and to press palm over your right thigh. So now it's a static hold. And I'll invite you to press your legs into your hands and resist with your hands back. So much so that you feel the low belly. Maybe you feel a little shake. And then let that go and allow your legs just to drop in. You can reach for opposite ankle, maybe a little rock side to side. And then from here, I'll invite you to take your ankles, let your ankles cross for a moment, and with right ankle on top of left, find a little bit of a clamshell. Inhale to open, maybe your feet go slightly forward. Exhale, give it a squeeze. And then switch it out, just the ankles. Left ankle on top, right beneath. And once again, a little bit of a clamshell. So that as elbows and knees touch, there's a firm connection, like a clam that you can't quite open. Like little magnets there. And one more like that. This time, lowering through your upper body, and left leg crosses over right. So eagle legs once again. You don't have to do that double crossing with your ankle behind for this one. Just a nice cross of the thighs. Inhaling here and exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. Finding your rhythm and pace, your breath and movement. These core exercises are great when we come into balance later. Go ahead and lower through your upper body, taking palm over your left thigh this time, and give it a press in each direction. Thighs pressing in, hands resisting. And then let it go. And a little bit of a hip stretch here, reaching for opposite ankle if that's accessible, and just rolling around your sacrum. Beautiful. Okay, our next variation is hands behind your head once again, and an invitation to take this side to side in bicycle. Nice little cross crawl action for mind-body integration. And then coming back to center once again. Our final action in our core series is to take the feet together, knees wide, just like we did, except without the ankles crossed. And this time, to draw the backs of your elbows and knees together, our clamshell. Maybe you release your head and stick your hands up like you're putting your hands on the ceiling. And we're in an upside down crow pose, or a bakasana. Just feel the core engagement in the shape. And then let it go. Go ahead and give yourself a nice long stretch. Sigh it out. Maybe reach one arm and the other. And then invitation to take your knees, take your hands behind your knees and give yourself a little rock and roll. Rocking your way all the way across your shins and into a tabletop. So this first shape in tabletop is yours and very much your free flow. It's a opportunity to listen to your sensations and let them be your guide. And if you're moving onto a chair, once again, finding some spinal movement, some pendicular movement, free flow, like your favorite animal just waking up from a nap. Again, a lovely way to wake up in the morning from your very own bed. Waking up each inch of skin, embodying yourself once again. I'll offer up some guided movement at this stage, and you can take it or leave it. If you're coming along for the ride, I'll invite you to send your left leg back and give yourself a little heel rock. Just greeting the back of your leg, especially your calf. And then keeping your left leg there, begin to walk yourself around. You can take your right shin behind you. And then from this shape, I'll invite you to walk yourself up and we'll come into a gate pose. In gate pose, leaning toward the left. This one actually has a really lovely chair variation for those of you that have shifted back there, right? You can take your leg to the side and just find that variation of gait right here. So whichever variation is suiting you, finding a few breaths. And then we'll come up and over. Now right hand down to the floor. You can always use a block to find a little bit more length for your arm if you prefer. And then taking your left arm overhead. So we're in a variation, a modified variation of side plank. And really luxuriate in that long side body here. Let your breath fill the space that you are creating for yourself. And then an invitation to lift through your left leg, a little balance here. Inhale and exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale to reach and give it a contraction. One more of those. And then sending your leg down, your hand down, back through table. A few breaths here, maybe some cat-cow. And we'll take it on side two, sending your right leg back and a few heel rocks here. I'm turning myself around just so I'll end up facing you when we shift gears, just for audibility's sake as well. And then when you feel complete with those heel rocks, walking yourself around, sending your left shin back, and we've got this beautiful setup here for gait. You can walk yourself up, find that lifted shape, and begin to lean over to the right. Remember that concept that every posture is this invitation for exploratory movement. even here, right? Do you want to look down? Do you want to look up? Do you want to lean forward or back? And then up and over. Now left hand plants, maybe a block there, and sending your right arm overhead. And allowing yourself to feel the length of your side body here. Staying here, or if you like, finding that balance. You can stay just like this, or 3 times knee to elbow. Exhale. One more. And then as you're ready, making your way back through to a tabletop. And a few breaths once again. The next invitation for guided movement is to come into toes pose. Toes pose is turning your toes under and walking your hips back. And you might stay here with your hands on the floor. You might even turn your palms back for a moment, a nice little wrist stretch. And you can decide how much weight you place into your feet. So if you do continue to walk yourself up and stack your shoulders above hips, above toes, you begin to sense perhaps an opening of the connective tissue, the fascia of the feet, that of course translates through your whole body. Taking a few breaths here, and I'll offer today a little bit of that guided movement, similar to what we did seated earlier, in which the invitation is to draw your arms open and exhale. You can come into that self-hug. Continuing to breathe. It's a nice reminder to breathe in toes pose. And just one more. And unwinding, go ahead and release your feet. You can tap them out for a moment. And if it feels accessible for your knees, coming into rock pose, sitting hips on the tops of your ankles, and we're getting into the fronts of the ankles, the tops of the feet. This might be plenty for knees and ankles. For those of you that want just a little more, you can begin to lift one knee and the other. You might experiment back and forth, or you might experiment with sending your weight into both ankles simultaneously and finding a little balance there. Remember, soft landing. We're never forcing anything in this. And let's go ahead and again release the feet. You can roll them out. And we're turning the toes under enough to walk back into a low, tight squat. And in this shape, giving yourself a little bounce. We're nice and close to the earth here. And you can stay with that close in squat, or you might drop your knees for a moment to widen your feet. And now allowing yourself to just explore a little bit in a wider malasana. Letting one knee lift and drop and vice versa. Heels can lift and drop. You can lift through your heart. You can find this as balance play. Taking your hands off the earth, lots of options here. And then from this shape, one invitation that some of you will take and some of you will say, no thanks, Arielle, is to perhaps play in another of our bird poses for today. This is crow pose, We did it on our backs, and now is the invitation to take a little bit of flight onto your hands. Your hands here are about shoulder widths apart. Invitation is to take your knees to the backs of your elbows, and you might just stay right here with your toes on the floor. You might lift one and then the other. You might lift both and explore how it feels to take a little bit of weight in your hands, to take that flight, and then to find a soft landing. So whether you're playing with that or not does not make you a better yogi, right? It's just an opportunity to play, and that's all. And whatever you have chosen, we are all going to meet in a child's pose. When you feel complete with that, you'll join us here. Your child's pose might be knees wide, feet together, knees together, hands forward or back, maybe a bolster. Make it yours. I personally sometimes like to stack palm to palm underneath my forehead. And now it's just you and your breath and your mind, remembering to come back to your why. How do you allow your mind to settle and take that soft landing as well? So some of you might say, this is enough for me for today, and at any point you can call it a class and rest in Shavasana and join us for a conversation at the end. If for those of you that would like to continue, we're going to come up through downward facing dog. So allowing yourself to transition to table, curl your toes under, and lift your knees. And this first downward dog, super exploratory, just like our table. Let yourself make it your own. Walk out through your knees. Maybe bend both knees and lengthen. Lift your heels and lower. Twist your hips from side to side. Maybe you settle into stillness. And eventually taking a sauntering walk forward to the front of your mat, finding a forward fold. Then we'll build some vagal efficiency, working with the breath and postural movement here to strengthen your capacity for change. We inhale halfway and exhale to fold. Inhale and exhale. Halfway lift and exhale. And then lifting to stand this time. Inhale. Maybe arms overhead. And exhale, palm to palm in front of your heart. And allowing yourself to arrive in a new relationship to gravity. Perhaps sensing your heartbeat in your chest. And we'll greet some variations from standing that will be similar to what we did on our knees, what we did seated. Invitation is to open your arms And exhale into that self-hug. To open. Other arm on top. And maybe into eagle arms, wrapping the forearms as well if you're there. Inhale to lift. Again, you can do this with the hug and exhale to lower. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, tucking. Inhale to open. Opposite arm on top. Eagle or hug, lift and lower. Lift and lower. And inhale to open. And exhale to take your hands behind your back. Inhale to find a lift of your heart. And exhale to bow. Head beneath heart. From this shape, you can nod your head, yes, shake it, no. Scrunch your face, stick out your tongue, make a sound. And releasing your hands to the earth, finding that halfway lift again. And exhale, planting your hands, stepping back. And I'll invite today a knees, chest, chin, and a slithering down to the earth for cobra. Hands beneath your shoulders, grounding through your feet and legs. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Moving with your breath, your rhythm. You get to decide how much length of your spine, how much weight in your hands. One more here. And then pressing back into child's pose once again. Once you've caught your breath, found your internal rhythm, we'll find all of that again, finding your way to downward facing dog. And gazing forward, decide how you want to get to the front of your mat. You might hop, you might pounce, you might step. All are welcome. Finding your halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale to stand. Exhale, palm to palm at your heart. Variation number 2, as we go into our second sun salutation, we'll find side bodies this time. Inhale, I'll invite you to reach palms in opposite directions. And from this shape of reaching in opposite directions, of stretching through the side body, we're going to play with balance. So send your weight into the outer leg, okay? So you'll sense that the bottom hand is your inner leg, and then let that inner leg maybe hover off the floor. It's a little bit of a funny, playful balance in this side body stretch. You look great. Well done. And go ahead and bring 2 feet to the floor and back up to center. Let's find that on side 2. So we did this with a knee down earlier. It's just a little variation on it. So now you've found side two, that inner leg, you send your weight into the outer leg. Let the inner leg float up a little bit. See what happens. And hey, if you fall out of it, it's okay. It's okay. Soft landing. Let's go ahead and come back down. We're going to repeat with a variation. Coming into side one, now sending weight to your inner leg. Let your outer leg float. Whoa, right? Come in and out of balance. All welcome, all okay. It's time to play. And back up. Side two. Inner leg is our grounded leg. Outer leg begins to float. What's happening in your mind as we play in this space? And then back 2 feet to the earth. Shake it out. Let it go. It's over. Whatever happened. An invitation to come to the front of your mat. This time, just one time. Inhale, open through your elbows, goalpost, lift your heart. And exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. And your way to downward dog. So you can move back through that, knees, chest, chin, to floor, to cobra. You can come to high plank. Maybe you move down, chaturanga. Maybe you come through an upward dog. No right, wrong, better, or worse. We meet in downward dog, and you can always skip all of that. From downward dog, find your breath. If you need child's pose for rest, take it. And now the invitation is to take your right leg back and behind for a moment. Just a breath, and then exhale forward and through. And I'll invite a knee down. And if you ever want a cushion, a fold-up mat, a blanket under your knee, take it. This is all about comfort. I also recommend having blocks for your practice, really allowing yourself to find your way in. And that's all that we're going to do here from this lunge, is just really exploratory shape. So coming in and out, maybe starting with that knee down, greeting your left hip flexor, your right hamstring. What's the story in these pockets of your body? And then maybe you explore it again, knee lifted, forward and back. Low lunge, pyramid variation. Let it feel good. And from your low lunge, invitation is to take your left heel down. With left heel down, we've got bird number 3. I'll walk you into ostrich, and as you walk your hands off the mat to the left, let your head hang heavy, like your head gets to just drop in the sand. Your legs are like warrior 2, your upper body like downward facing dog. And then walking yourself back toward your right leg. Now block is here. You can either place a hand on your block and the left hand on your hip. So right hand on your block, left on your hip. Maybe you take right forearm to your leg if that feels more comfortable for your body. Block can be at any height. And then I'm going to encourage you to keep your hips slightly angled down and let the opening of extended side angle happen in your spine and shoulder so that you actually have this really grounded lower body into both legs, into both feet. Maybe you reach your arm overhead. Maybe your gaze follows. And then from this groundedness of your lower body, press into your right foot and begin to lengthen through your right knee. Now you don't have to lock it out. Keep that micro bend in there. And we make our way into a variation of Trikonasana, triangle, from the ground up. And you might explore between those two shapes as well. Extended side angle, triangle. Letting it feel organic. Hopefully letting it feel good. That's the point here. And then when you feel ready, hands can come to the earth. Right foot can meet the left. Your choice if you want, a vinyasa. Coming through perhaps an upward dog or a cobra. Meeting in downward dog. And we find all that on side two. A lift of your left leg. Exhale, forward and through. Knee down to begin if you like. And some exploratory movement. What is your body needing? What story does this side have to tell? If you feel satisfied with the knee down variation, maybe playing with the knee lifted, low lunge to pyramid. And again, I'm switching sides just for the sake of my voice reaching you when we do side two. When you feel ready, invitation is to ground into your right heel. We find ostrich. So warrior two in the lower body, walking your hands off the mat to the side and letting yourself settle in. This is one of those poses that for me invokes that quality of humility, close to the earth. The word humility comes from hummus. We're very grounded here, head below heart. And then walking your hands back in, we'll find that extended side angle, maybe your block or forearm to thigh. And then keeping your hips rooted here, kind of facing the earth still. And just the spine and shoulder begin to lift. Maybe you lengthen through your arm. Notice how it feels in your legs to stay grounded and rooted. And then perhaps begin to lengthen through your left leg. And you can move back and forth. Eventually, when you feel complete, making your way back to downward facing dog. However you want to get there, you can just step right in. Now we have another option for a transition to the front of the mat. However you'd like to get there. And again, you can make this practice as playful as you'd like. You might even take flight. However you'd like to get there. Finding a halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale to fold. And inhale through mountain into Samastitihi, equal standing pose. Palm to palm at your heart, maybe palm over your heart, sensing your own heartbeat, sensing your presence, reorienting yourself to your body. And then from here, we'll let that go. We've got a little bit more of a standing sequence, and then we're making our way back to the earth. Again, another choice point. Do you want a little bit more challenge, or does challenge feel like you've hit your limit today? And honor that truth, no right, wrong, better, worse. Our next standing posture will be eagle, full eagle. We've been kind of playing our way toward that. And in this shape, you can always just kickstand your foot or use a support. So listen to what supports you to have balance. I'll invite you to take your way into a bent knee shape, a little Utkatasana shape, like a chair. And then taking your right leg out to the side, up and over the left. Maybe you double wrap, single wrap, kickstand, all welcome. And then it's right arm underneath. And we've been here with the arms before. This time with balance. This time your vision is obstructed. So you're relying on that proprioception in your joints and your core to help you maintain balance. I'll invite you to step out wide out of that shape, wider than hips width, maybe lifting up onto your toes, the balls of your feet, opening through your arms, a variation of five-pointed star, and then heels settling to the earth, stepping feet together again, and a pause before side two. If you feel your heartbeat in there, how beautiful. A sign of your aliveness. Let's go ahead and bend through the knees. We're going to open left leg and up and over, around, balance play, right? And then it's left arm underneath, crossing at the elbows, the forearms, the wrists. We're compressing all of the major joints of your body in this shape. Squeeze everything to midline. If you fall out, can you find a soft landing? Can you hear the sound of your breath? And when you're ready, let's step it wide again. Maybe lift up onto the balls of your feet. Really take up space. And then come on back. Beautiful. We're going to put some pieces together for our final relatively short flow, playful. And so we've had eagle quite a few variations. The eagle's going to show up in this final flow as well. So we'll start out though with a visit to another bird, which will be a drinking bird, sometimes called sparrow. So in this one, I'll invite you once again to find your Utkatasana, and we'll begin with some breath and movement together. Inhale and exhale. One more of those. Pause here, arms are back, gazing down, maybe lift your heels. Drinking bird. Sparrow is the invitation to clasp your hands and send them back behind. And then slowly descending to the earth. We'll stick with Utkatasana, with our chair pose. Inhale, arms to lift. Exhale, left knee to the side, up and around to eagle, left arm underneath. Inhale, lift your elbows. Exhale, extend your left leg behind you so you unwrap to make your way into an eagle-armed flying airplane. And then soft landing your left toes to the earth behind you. Deep trust in that. Inhale, lift your elbows here. Exhale, unwrap. Inhale, 5-pointed star. Exhale, turning to the back of your mat, crescent lunge. First time here, we'll slow it down. Right heel is lifted, left leg, left knee bent, and inhale your arms up overhead. Finding your breath. From this shape, eagle arms only, right under left. Single or double wrap, you can always self-hug. Inhale to lift your elbows. Exhale, sending your weight into your left foot as you lift your right leg off, flying eagle. Stepping forward, soft landing, and release your hands. Inhale. Exhale. Chair pose. Right leg to the side. Up and over. Right arm underneath. Inhale, lift your elbows. Exhale, unwrap as you send your right leg back. Soft landing. Right toes down. Inhale to lift your elbows. Exhale, unwrap your arms. Inhale, 5-pointed star. What a delight. Exhale, turning towards the front of your mat. Crescent. Taking our time here. Maybe hands to hips if you'd like, or overhead. This too involves some balance, proprioceptive awareness. Inhaling here. Exhale, left under right. Eagle or self-hug. Inhale to lift your elbows. Exhale as you lean forward, big move, weight into your right foot. Finding that flying eagle one more time. Whoop. Falling out, always welcome. And then soft landing, stepping forward. Releasing your hands. One more time, maybe hand to belly, hand to heart, or two hands to heart. Whatever helps you come back in. That invitation to embody your very own self. Just as you are, perfectly imperfect, uniquely you. And then gently releasing your arms. And I'm going to guide us through a very gentle transition back down to the mat. Inhale, sweeping your arms. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift. And exhale, planting your hands, stepping back. And once again, we'll do a knees, chest, chin, and slither down. This time, we'll find Sphinx. For Sphinx, both legs out behind you, pressing into hands, forearms to the earth. And allowing yourself to draw your forearms back, to tuck your tailbone long, even if that temporarily lifts your hips. Tuck your tailbone, lift your hips, and then relower as you lengthen through the low back, and then draw your heart forward again. And you can do that as many times as you need to in order to feel that lengthening, so that the posture actually becomes one of joy. And then from this shape, I'm going to invite a half floor frog. And so we've got a Sphinx frog, and I'll invite you to tuck your right toes under and give yourself a little pulse once again. Untucking your toes and maybe giving yourself a little twist to the left. So you can come in and out of this Sphinx frog twist, simply following the sensations of your body, maybe breathing into those sticky spots, sending breath, prana, light right through, releasing what needs to be released. And then coming back to center, and I'll invite that left arm long and right arm underneath, enough so that you can then settle your right shoulder, head to the earth, and begin to twist open. Now, you do not need to touch your right shoulder to the earth, or maybe you let your left knee lift if you're opening more. So you don't have to, again, crank into this twist. Simply allow what feels good, and you can gaze to the side, up or opposite side. And we unwind all the way back around, back towards Sphinx, and take your time to find it. And if you need to do that lift of your hips, lengthen of your tailbone, resettle, heart forward. Maybe a rock side to side with your hips, I like that one. And then we find Sphinx frog, say that 5 times. On side 2, right knee bends. You can tuck your left toes, give yourself a little heel rock here. And then untucking and a few gentle twists here to the right. You can plant your right hand down as you turn towards your right knee. And we'll move from this twisted Sphinx frog into a supine twist by sending your right arm long, left arm threads underneath, and then rolling open. Again, doesn't matter if your shoulder touches, if your knee lifts, finding the variation that supports you. And eventually rolling open this time, let yourself roll onto your back into a 5-pointed star on the floor. And you might, like me, be off your mat. And you could choose to stay there. That's perfectly fine. Or you can wiggle yourself back on. And finding how you would like to close practice. I will offer a final seed pose, an invitation to draw both knees in one more time if you'd like. You might choose to take this into a happy baby, a bridge pose, or any shape that serves your body, even shapes that have no known yoga pose name, but that really, guided by your sensations, feel good to you. And then when you feel complete, letting yourself rest in stillness. You can set up that final shape. Maybe it's legs up the wall, maybe it's traditional Shavasana, maybe it's seated. But set it up just the way that you would set up any other yoga posture, mindfully, with consideration for what allows you to feel comfortable in your body, in the shape. Letting yourself reside, receive. I will offer up our poem as you rest and receive. Scarlet-Chested Sunbird by Deborah Ann Quibble. Magnificent being, come out from behind yourself. The old, tired stories that strangle and keep you small must be retold into mythic tales of stalks and scarlet-chested sunbirds. And as you emerge from beneath the parched, holy ground, be warned, who you were before will not recognize the stranger you are becoming. You will no longer yearn to fly so close to the sun, but will inhabit, perhaps for the first time, your marvelous earthly body of belonging. Taking as much time as it takes, truly honoring that it can take time to rest and receive these practices, this practice. And if and when you feel ready to make that sacred transition, off of your mat, back to sitting. Doing so just as mindfully as any transition we've taken during class. This too is yoga. Taking that mindfulness with you, gathering that embodiment with you. And reflecting for a moment as we formally close this class, whether you're seated or still supine, reflecting for a moment on what is it that you would like to bring with you from the playful flight of this class into the soft landing of your life. Reflecting on that for a moment, perhaps visualizing what that would look like. A warm smile, a compassionate tone with a friend, a gentle offering of your gifts in your way to your world. With deep gratitude to each and every one of you. Namaste.